Hello folks, and welcome to a new episode of Tech News, this time on a Wednesday. This is episode 14. Let's go ahead and jump in. First things first, to those of you who live in the US like myself, I'm certainly hoping that you and your family enjoy the Memorial Weekend holiday. And to those of you who have served, and also to those of you currently serving, I thank you so very much for your service. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with some Samsung news here. If you have been following the channel for a while and keeping up with the Tech News series, then you probably watched the episode where I covered the rumors of the potential return of the rotating bezel on the next Galaxy Watch. Well folks, I'm here to tell you that there are new reports that now solidify that we will indeed have a model of the Galaxy Watch series be a continuation of the good old Galaxy Watch Classic, which featured a rotating bezel. Now, this is especially exciting news to many people, including myself, who complained about the fact that Samsung parted ways or removed it and replaced it with a digital version of that rotating bezel on one of the current models of the Galaxy Watches. That said, I'm super happy to see that it will be back. You can already see what it looks like here on some of these renders that I'm showing. And it's been reported that the Galaxy Watch Series 6 will feature two watch models. The Watch 6 Classic, which is essentially the successor to the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, and the regular Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 series. Now, so far we have not heard any words in regards to the next iteration of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro that we have here. We don't know whether there's going to be a replacement, but I'm curious to see what Samsung does with this. I'm not sure if they're going to kill the line, but we'll wait and see. You know, especially given that the upcoming Galaxy Watch 6 Classic is set to be the premium model, right? And if you think about it, the current Watch 5 Pro is the premium model of the current series. So it could be just that the Watch 6 Classic is replacing the Watch 5 Pro also. Who knows? Now, as far as the design goes, we can see that it maintained that same design language, right? You know, that's what we saw about 2 years ago. If you remember that, to those of you familiar, if you remember what the Watch 4 Classic looked like, you will see that it's very similar to that, meaning obviously that rotating bezel, as I mentioned earlier, will be back, thick bezel there, along with the classic 2 buttons, and the display is also set to be larger than what we have on the current Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, which again leads me to believe that this is going to be the replacement to the 4 Classic and also the Watch 5 Pro. We're going to be looking at a 1.6 inches Super AMOLED display versus the current 1.4 inches that we have on the Watch 5 Pro. The resolution is also going to be higher than what we currently have on the current premium model. It's rumored at 470 by 470 for the resolution. Now, keep in mind that with something, you know, this small, you may not notice that difference unless, of course, you put them side by side and take a closer look. And finally, the last thing on here is that we're going to have a larger battery on the 6, the 6 series when compared to the good old Watch 4 Classic. So we're talking 425 milliamp in terms of the size of that battery. Now, despite being larger than the Watch 4 Classic, the battery is still set to be smaller than what we have on the current Watch 5 Pro, which is making me feel a certain kind of way, right? I'm really not ready to go back, to go from a 3 to 4 days top of battery life to a 24-hour battery life. I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, looking at the renders, you can see that, there's going to be a new style of band for it. I personally don't like it. I definitely do not like it so far. I'm hoping that it looks different when it is in hands, but at first sight, first glimpse, I'm not a fan of this. It also has that same magnetic lock like the one that we have on the official Watch 5 Pro watch band. Now, in terms of launch date, it is expected to drop, alongside the Galaxy Z Fold and the Z Flip 5. That's going to be dropping, sometimes in July, right? So we should be expecting to see this alongside that. Now, I want to go ahead and switch over to some Google Pixel news, but still sticking with watches here, right? So it's been reported that the next iteration of the Google Pixel Watch will no longer feature Samsung's Exynos platform like what's currently found on the current Google Pixel Watch. But instead, Google will be outsourcing that part to Qualcomm. So in addition, or on top of pretty good software, the next Pixel Watch will be boasting a Qualcomm Snapdragon W5 series chip, which is fantastic, and hopefully this will improve all of the shortcomings currently found on the current model, right? Specifically the power and the energy management, which could potentially hit 50% more battery life. That is insane. Well, not insane, but that is amazing. And hopefully all of this will also improve its popularity. Next here, I want to go ahead and share some news on the Motorola Razr, the upcoming Motorola Razr that we we did talk about it, well, during the maybe not last episode, a couple episodes ago, I covered some of the renders that we had on the upcoming Motorola Razr. Now, it's about to drop, and we have even more renders and info. By the way, this is set to be called the Motorola Razr Ultra, at least based off of the most recent news. So in the US, it's going to be the Ultra. It might be called something else, you know, for the global model. So some pretty nice specs on it so far. A Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 coupled with 8 gigs of RAM, of course. We do have a 3,640 milliamp hour battery size, so it's not particularly large, but I guess it kind of stands right in the middle there. But we'll see how it performs along with that platform. The display is going to be that 6.9 inches OLED display that they did announce. So not too bad so far. With all of the renders and videos that dropped, you know, we have a pretty good idea of what to expect. Now, I personally very much like the design, right? Especially that larger, you know, outer display there. It's also a pretty sleek and modern looking foldable. Motorola definitely took it back to its roots, right? You know, making sure that they come up with this amazing design, just like they did with the very first Motorola Razr. That thing was out of this world. It was something that we had not seen before. So it looks like they're going back to that and coming out with something really nice. Now, one last thing before we move on, Motorola is still set to release a light version of this phone this summer as well, which could be as early as June. As a matter of fact, as beginning of June. So let's wait and see. Now let's go ahead and close with some PlayStation news here. We typically don't do a lot of Sony content, but I want to go ahead and close this video with some PlayStation news. And we are quickly going to go over Sony's latest announcement as it relates to Project Q. So to those of you not familiar, Sony's PlayStation division is working on a portable device, and no, I know what you're thinking, it is not a PSP. This one is an 8 inches LCD device that will allow you to play your PlayStation 5 games on the go, so more of a remote play, and it's not particularly spec'd out, right? So you'll be looking at 1080p in terms of the res and 60 Hz refresh rate as you play on the go. Now, we should be getting additional details on this and, you know, all of the other accessories related to this device eventually, and most importantly, whether, you know, it's going to be truly a remote play type of device only, which would be, frankly, pretty disappointing if that is the case. But anyway, this is all I had for this edition of Tech News. I will have more on the next episode. I will stay updated so that you are updated. Up until that next episode, of course, as always, stay safe out there.